But it's interesting, they're also responding saying they need much higher level skills. They need to be able to use technology in a current world. They need to be able to speak clearly. They need to be able to write clearly for people. They need to be able to use processes of inquiry and make decisions of their own based on the information they have. And so we're finding tremendous support.
Cool. This is a great one. Yeah. Okay.
Projects is that in this case the designers aren't going to go away and come back with a design and plop it down on the citizens of Two Harbors. There's been a long history of working very hard to establish what they want to do with the tug and where it's going to go in the future.
When we're done, the building is going to try to reflect the nature of individual stories and the town of Two Harbors, not a design that could fit any other place in the entire country or the world.
By the Ordox. This is the upper part of the engine.
Oh, I have all the data.
Love is to bring justice to this community and not for citizens to keep pretending like they don't know what's going on.
When you lose 4 or 5 members of your family, that hurts. And whoever did it got to even hurt even more.
We believe that everyday people like ourselves can make a big difference. All we have to do is be willing to spend some time and effort.
And I think originally it was a way of presenting our songs that just suited the kind of character of the songs that we were writing. And our very first album, the one with Nights in White Satin and Tuesday Afternoon on, that was the one that started it all. And then after that, we never really used an orchestra again, in fact, for 25 years. And then 25 years later, as a celebration of that album, we worked with the Colorado Symphony, and that's how this whole orchestral tour came about. And it's great to be out here with all these different orchestras.
The essentially, I'll let you handle that. All of that is predicated on the assumption that if residents support tourism and are welcoming and welcome tourists to their communities, that in fact the tourists will find that to be a more satisfying experience and will return.
To see what changes they felt have taken place, what changes in the sense of helping to educate people, helping to see that the rights that they now have are recognized and enforced.
School board, administration, or any other small group of people. With the technology of the state tournament. And our education. We, the students, need the community support. We would like to stress that today's gathering is a nonviolent, positive demonstration to show our support for ourselves, our education, and the bond referendum that will help to further both of them.
Does not house any of these computers. People in drafting, how many people have used those computers?
Few of the experiences that I've had that convinced me.
Urge the 8,000 people who didn't vote to vote yes if there is to be a revote, and the people of the community, and stress the importance of this bond issue. Thank you, and remember the sit-in is to be a positive one that hopefully will be taken seriously. For a lot of time.
Next.
Well, my husband is looking. I'm in his place today, and he hasn't. They're very hard to come by. And like he's a heavy equipment operator, and you have to belong to the 49ers union, and they've got 9 pages of applicants, so they won't take any more, so.
Increase in disagreements, perhaps a loss of cohesiveness. That can cause some disagreement in the company. One of the first, as well as the management team, what you can see showing up is an increase in disagreements, perhaps a loss of cohesiveness. So it has to be clearly laid out for the organization as a whole of what the new structure is going to look like, who has what responsibilities, and how long they're going to have them, if they're temporary, or whether you're going to be doing any other type of moves. Undertaking a major downsizing or restructuring can cause some disagreement amongst the board. Start looking for those signs or signals and really pay attention, because when you start focusing inward on the organization, then you start to really lose focus.
Well, I think there was a hope expressed. I don't think we'd made any pledge that there'd be a consensus, but I think there was a hope that this could be truly bipartisan.
We're here as colleagues trying to work our way through a big and complex subject. There's no way.
Liquor licenses to people like ourselves. The reason being, and I certainly empathize with anybody that's in business who we hired. We have 390 applications. I wish them all the luck in the world. I think they do a good job. And I guess my primary selling point is economic development, which was before. We've hired.
I have a case.
For Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, he played the AIDS-stricken gay attorney Andrew Beckett in Philadelphia, Tom Hanks, who said, "Before I did Philadelphia, I was a tolerant man. Now I am actively tolerant."
The streets of heaven are too crowded with angels. We know their names. They number 1,000 for each one of the red ribbons that we wear here tonight.
For Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role, an actress who won it without saying a word. For her performance in The Piano, Georgia-born Holly Hunter, who had to learn sign language.
And just thank you all so much for letting this movie in. And thanks.
Listen up, ladies and
For
gentlemen.
Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, he played the iron-jawed U.S. Marshal who cut to the chase in The Fugitive, tall Texan Tommy Lee Jones.
It certainly represents a growth in one's creative life, the most important thing about it.
And for Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role, an 11-year-old charmer from New Zealand, Anna Paquin, who played the scrappy daughter in The Piano, and whose only past acting experience was playing the part of a skunk in a school ballet.
Is this sort of a fun little thing for you to do here, or what?
It's actually quite fun.
And for Best Original Song in a Motion Picture, the Oscar went to a man who has never before written a song for a movie, but who put his heart and soul, his talent and his conviction into the winning song for the movie Philadelphia, called The Streets of Philadelphia. He's the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Wasting away on the streets of Philadelphia.
I think all too often in many of these debates on economic development, we tend to see what is good for my immediate community. Let me tell you what was good about Northwest. What's good about Northwest is that we're not holding a news conference this afternoon talking about, Governor, what are you going to do to replace those 87,000 jobs that we lost? What are you going to do so that we can have air service to Duluth? What are you going to do to replace the hub that went to Detroit? If that catastrophe had occurred, it probably would have been the worst economic disaster, certainly in our lifetime.
I have that information, but I'm not free to be able to release that at this time. I expect within the next 2 weeks that information will be released. But the details are still being worked out. We're not positive of what the city's financial commitment will be. We have a range that we know that it will be in, and it is an acceptable and workable arrangement for us.
Buddy passes?
She hasn't been shy for the cameras yet.
No, she's sorry. Cameras and looked at. Huh? They're both in the same division. Yeah, but they'll make a couple comments.
Because I was looking at Twins or Brewers thing in newborns.
6-week-old. She was in labor for 34 hours.
What was that?
And say, can I have a cup of tea? Can I have a cup of tea? Repeat it for me. And it's like, which is not classic. I think I love you.
If it seems as though every other art movie you see right now stars Hugh Grant, he's a repressed bachelor. In Sirens, he's a repressed minister, and in Bitter Moon, he's a sexually repressed husband. You may be picking up on a theme here. Grant
Now the Red Cross, we're incorporating them in the story as well.
There it is.
The 777 passenger plane is the largest two-engine jet built. They'll seat between 305 to 375 passengers, and the planes cost between $116 to $146 million apiece. Boeing already has received 147 orders. The wingtips can be folded so the plane can use existing terminals and smaller airports. Boeing has not begun test flights yet. They are scheduled to begin this summer. A little higher in the skies, the Space Shuttle Endeavour blasted off just after 7 o'clock Eastern Time this morning to begin its 10-day mission. The shuttle is equipped with special radar equipment that will map the Earth's surface in detail. The Endeavour crew will observe the Earth through cameras and so-called radar eyes that can see through clouds, trees, ice, and dry sand to gauge the environment. Over 50 areas around the globe will be studied, including the Andes Mountains, the Alps, the Sahara Desert, the Amazon Basin, and California's Death Valley. The shuttle also has $1 million air pollution monitor on board to help determine which changes in the Earth's atmosphere are natural and which are caused by humans. The shuttle crew will work around the clock and take turns sleeping to allow continuous monitoring of the systems. And in labor news, talks between striking Teamsters and several trucking companies didn't go very far today. In fact, the two sides called off discussions after a dispute over how far talks could go. The two groups met in Washington to try and settle a 4-day-old walkout against 18 companies being targeted by the union. But talks barely started before they were called off. Teamsters officials say the coalition negotiating for the trucking companies had set a limit on talks. But management says they didn't set limits on discussions.
It's going to give us computer labs, offices and classrooms for math and education. And the reason we're getting that building, there was a guy in the legislature named Senator Mike Freeman, who got us that building. Our effort was absolutely dead till he came to our rescue.
You know, I can't believe they could have given him a permit to fill that in. You know, guy fights for 7 years to get a permit. He fills it in.
We've lived out here going on 30 years, and we've never had anything like this happen. You know, they've dropped off animals and things, and we've taken care of them, but we're not going to take care of this mess.
I'd like to see them caught, boy. This is terrible. What if there was little kids around here?
Well, this is pretty sad, really, because the quantity here, usually what we run across once or twice in the summer is a bag at the side of the road, and generally things that we would attribute to a homeowner. But, you know, this quantity of asbestos came from an industrial facility. I mean, this is hundreds of linear feet off of pipes and possibly boiler rooms and things like that. And obviously the quantity is such.
But they might have known that nobody was back here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just so strange.
Yes, it is, yeah. But this wasn't done by a...
Oh, you're going to see an awful lot of complaints filed. The truth is, he's very uneasy about the fact that his past is being brought to light. We're delighted, and it's going to continue.
Remember this? The storms of '94, all of them. But wait, fast forward about a month. That's better. Spring is finally here, but the news is not all good. Guess what? Another storm is brewing out here. It's just a lot tougher to see this one. Pollen blowing through the air now, and will be until next winter. The grass and trees are starting to pollinate, and these are the culprits: spores, pollen carriers.
Wheezing, sniffling, yeah, the nose runs, the eyes get watery.
You feel, you know, short of breath, and your ears feel plugged up.
Symptoms with which up to 20% of us are forced to cope.
We see all of this congestion and inflammation.
Over-the-counter or prescription oral medication can often bring relief to most with mild to moderate allergy symptoms. But what if they're worse?
Some people will have very severe, sometimes even disabling symptoms, and those people end up seeing an allergist. And for them, those people may end up on allergy shots because nothing else has worked.
There are people like Julie Allen, who was in today for her first weekly shot of a season-long series.
You get them every week, and then either you get them, you start once a week, and then you skip to every 2 weeks, and then once a month. It goes down.
About 80% of people have a good response to that. In other words, reduction in symptoms and/or elimination of their allergy. So really, shots are the only option we have for cure in allergic disease at this time.
The best advice as we head into the season?
If you had a bad season last year, you may want to see your doctor this year before you have symptoms.
Because the only other way you'll find relief is by killing all those pollen-producing plants with, you guessed it, more snow. Any takers? Just a thought.
For NBC News, I'm Randy Price.
Say about him later.
We're not finished with it yet. There's one more race we got to do. And that race to raise that $150,000.
Here are ways in which Ken has served this university. Yeah, so you can be seated. As Marsh Nelson comes in the room, and we're glad to see you.
In spirit, having put this together for so many years, and having done such a great job over those years, I guess he kind of left it up to us to see if we could pick those up sometime right after lunch. Enjoy. We'll be back. Take the ticket that you got, and you're going to want to put your name on
the whole impetus of the program really is to create an opportunity for residents and encourage residents to clean up their properties kind of after a winter's accumulation of
I read about it in a recent floral trade magazine on some marketing ideas they had in there, and we decided it'd be a fun promotion to try.
How important these old homes are to our community. You know, we have something unique in Duluth, and I think that oftentimes we don't realize that, and we have to point it out and single that out, and that's exactly what we're doing by recognizing these 100-year-old homes.
Our next home was built for. I'd like to first thank the Heritage Preservation Commission members that helped to select.
In the Hall of Remembrance, hopefully it'll bring in a lot of people from out of the area, not just the state, but from my understanding, throughout the nation, and we welcome them to our community.
'91 was a pilot year in just 10 cities, and then nationally it's gone on the last 2 years, and this is the first year that our local union has decided to become part of the project. And our local goal, all the food collected in each of the towns and cities is donated to food shelves and pantries in those cities, so it just stays right in the local area, and our local goal for this year is 40,000 pounds of food.
There weren't as many burglaries, or at least we weren't aware of as many burglaries, and we didn't lock our doors, we didn't lock our windows when we went in and out of our house.
That's Duluth police officer Darrell Roberg remembering 20 years ago. Today, it's a different story.
Right now, we're averaging approximately 18 house burglaries a month.
Roberg makes a living studying and apprehending burglars. He says residential thieves work in cycles. It all depends who's in and out of jail.
When they get caught, the burglary rate goes down. After their probation or after their jail sentence is over with, they come back out, your burglaries start going back up again.
There's not a door that's been made that somebody can't kick in.
R.J. Stenberg makes a living selling and installing security systems. He says the cost of securing your home is cheap when compared to potential losses.
Your average system will, on a national basis, will run you anywhere between $1,600 and $1,900.
What you get for your money is protection for all doors and ground level windows, a siren and a monitoring system that will call the security company who will alert the authorities. If you want more, for $2,400 you can add fire, panic, and temperature alarms, as well as Big Brother.
This is Mary with Arrowhead Security. Is everything okay at the location?
Like the powerful Big Brother in the movies, this system hears intruders and asks for identification.
Could I have your passcode, please?
My passcode is 1234.
Thank you very much. We'll be disconnecting now.
Many Northland residents own a cabin they use during the summer months as a weekend getaway. Keeping the second home secure during the winter months can be a problem a monitoring security system or a neighbor can help solve. Whether it's your cabin or house, telling your neighbors when you're going to be gone is one of the cheapest forms of security available. Here's a list of expert suggestions. Install locks with at least a 1-inch throw and use them. Use lights inside and out, and give your house the appearance that someone is home. Oh yeah, there's one more idea experts agree on.
Hey, you in a bar?
Hopefully your Fido will bark when a stranger comes near your home. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
If necessary, to make these changes. When they look at this and realize that it's not a case of creating a power base or a power... To make government more accountable, you must make elected officials more responsible, not less responsible. The state of Minnesota is going to have a state treasurer that it only makes common sense that that person be in charge for revenue collection. But let me make one point very clear. Unless these, fortunately, it's by the legislators, and I think I can sell that to them, whether there's a Republican governor or a Democratic governor, or if the legislature...
All in forfeiture money, it ends up in the school fund, which is fine, that the school fund gets this. The federal agencies, for their response to this as well, lawyers in my office have been working on this case for many months. They have spent long hours in evaluating environmental data and discussing the issues in potential litigation with attorneys for Burlington Northern. The federal agencies, for their response to this as well, we always work closely with the federal agency. We would expect from them laws of the United States, which has its own set of federal laws and federal penalties. It was not sufficient to handle the kind of load that was coming.
Hey, Floyd, how you going?
Oh, all we're hoping for is a fair settlement. We've been through this bankruptcy with them since 1986. We've been in a concessionary mode since '86, so we feel it's time we come ahead a little and catch up to the rest of the working world.
One of the most wonderful things I've observed is the parents showing their children the documents and listening to the parents describe these documents is, well, to me it's priceless.
I'll get them to work right away because the more stuff we pull out, the more answers we're going to get.
When could you see the girls home, and what has to be done?
As soon as we hear about that, that's the big thing. When we hear that they've granted us leave and that they'll hear the case, then we know the girls will be coming home really soon. But until then, we're just waiting. Judge Oswald's order brings us a whole lot closer to that, though.
One of the things about the Minnesota order is it was a trial to determine.
So what they've done is they've put in stuff that it never went through fire. It's just a combination of things. From something from a pretty good size smelter that creates quite a bit of heat to just throwing in miscellaneous garbage all in the same drum. That's exactly what and there's the possibility that this stuff, like I said,
Left the Duluth Pier at 9:04. Started dumping load 6.6 miles out, 68. We found it kind of astounding that for a classified disposal you would have wrote down where you dumped the material. So it was kind of a find that we never expected to find. Why would you write down where you were going to dump classified material? We moved to the Coleman, which is our dredge Coleman. Placed the Coleman, lumped whatever they had in the bottom of the furnace into the barrel.
And part in there.
Got it.
In 3, 2, 1.
I watched KBJR and I really won this pop-up camper.
Okay, good. Do it again. In 3, 2, 1.
I watched KBJR and I really won this pop-up camper.
Okay, is it one more time? In 3, 2.
In a book written by Dr. Julius Wolfe, a local shipwreck historian, the yacht caught fire and he said the fire was fed by gasoline and that the crew was taken off by the tug Edna G and the yacht simply burned and sank.
Well, we're relatively a new club. We've only been in existence 3 years, and for a new club to do this, in my opinion, says an awful lot for the local host club. We have a lot of good members here, and it takes an awful lot of effort to put this together. And
there is some long-term problems out there, and I think that's why the ATSDR is doing this type of a study, that they are concerned that there is something more than short-term out there.
The study finds a very preliminary indication that women with unusual jobs in the electric industry, engineers and telephone installers who work near electric lines, may face an increased risk of breast cancer.
We found about a 40% excess of deaths from breast cancer.
Loomis says it's too early to draw conclusions, and some previous studies conflict with his findings. But what are at issue here are electric and magnetic fields, which radiate out from electric lines and cannot be shielded. Previous studies have suggested that children living close to power lines could be more susceptible to leukemia, or adults could get brain tumors. Some everyday gadgets have relatively strong electromagnetic fields at close range, such as hair dryers, electric shavers, can openers, and vacuum cleaners. Power lines have a weaker field, but people are exposed to them for longer periods of time. Still, no one can be certain whether electric and magnetic fields adversely affect human health. Additional research must be done.
So while the latest study indicates breast cancer is one subject that needs more investigation, many scientists believe we're 5 to 10 years away from definitive answers about any of this. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
If you in any way are assisting Mr. Simpson in avoiding justice, Mr. Simpson is a fugitive of justice right now. And if you assist him in any way, you are committing a felony.
General right now. As you noticed earlier, we did have the candidate up here
rather reluctant candidate, but they're
somewhere around the mid-40s. We expected a little bit quicker movement and maybe not quite so many ballots, but like I say, when you have three good candidates in the race, a hard-fought race, but again, anything worth winning is worth fighting for, and that's what this convention did, and that's what these delegates did, and in the end, I'm just very pleased.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen delegates, could you please return to your seats? And I would ask...
Some of the people who came up here told us that in order to be on the floor, you had to be a contributor. And it's wonderful. They didn't do that in the Democratic convention to pass the hat immediately like this. Well, they've spotted a Democrat on the floor, apparently.
Meteorology department in the country. We take you to Penn State, alma mater of George Kessler, which boasts the largest meteorology department in the country. For the most part, these guys all have the same goal. They want to be on TV.
Here, I have a feeling those will be pushing into our area for tomorrow, and it just hits you right in the stomach, and you get like a sick feeling.
Kind of tough to watch, isn't it? But 3 minutes of ad-lib isn't easy. There's so much to remember, like east from west.
Out to the west, you can see another storm system. You can see another storm system moving in, and the cloud, and bringing more precipitation there. As we head in, I guess, the forecast.
Television stations across America look to Penn State for graduates with just the right mix of weather knowledge, camera presence, and even a little humor.
You have rain in Texas. Some of those storms should be stopped.
Your best moments are when you make mistakes.
This story about Penn State students aired recently on NBC Nightside, and host Drew Levinson had a personal
KBJR
message
in
for
Duluth,
George.
Minnesota. We wish George Kessler a long and successful television career. May all his forecasts be correct.
They don't come in contact with anything, any of my bodily fluids. What? Oh, I got a good shot, maybe.
Okay, but don't bump your little head.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got a good shot, maybe. I'll be so glad when they're old enough to come there. What you gonna do? Show us.
The dress on her.
And that was my goal when I started back to school. I was gonna get.
Because I know they've done a lot of it before. Did you want to just relax back here?
I'd recognize him, Joe.
Just because you think you're so pretty.
You know, it's so hard to leave all your friends after 65 years on the road. So it's going to be a difficult thing.
Frankie Yankovic says he's enjoyed life entertaining polka fans throughout North America, but he doesn't recommend the lifestyle to others.
If you want to be a musician, my recommendation is have music as a sideline, get yourself a good day job, get a pension, and get your benefits, and be raised up with your family.
And speaking of family, people often ask Frankie if he's related to Weird Al Yankovic. Well, he says they might be second or third cousins, but Weird Al is definitely one of his fans.
Weird got interested in accordion music. His parents would have all of my records there, and he'd keep spinning the records, and he got to like them.
Throughout his career, Frankie Yankovic has attracted many loyal fans. Bob Bradley of Brandon, Manitoba, has followed Yankovic since 1955.
There's no one that quite
puts the same lilt and rhythm into the polka and old-time waltz music. It's just, you can't help but dance, you can't help but like it.
In Chisholm, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
Pan shot after I get these.
There's been some information to us that commissioners really haven't been aware of what the issues are and how close we're really coming to looking at the possibility of a strike in this county, and we really want to avoid that. So we thought we'd do an informational picket so that the county commissioners would make a stance.
Basically they're looking for the gardens that have the best characteristics and also go the furthest in helping to beautify our city.